Alright everyone, Gavin McInnes is actually suing the SPLC. About time that somebody did this. I suppose he says, well, I've lost pretty much every platform that I have based on, in part, what the SPLC has said about me. Therefore, I'm going to sue them because, you know, other people definitely back it and I've got nothing else to do really other than make a podcast and YouTube videos because I can't be on any other platform. These platforms often enough have used, and here's why his lawsuit has potential legs. I do support this. Am I allowed to say that, or is that like breaching the TOS of some site? Oh, backing a hateful individual. I don't find him hateful. He's not part of the Proud Boys anymore, so fuck it. What he's arguing is that the Proud Boys aren't a hate group, or at least weren't well under his leadership. He's no longer part of them, so that no longer has relevance. That he himself is not a bigoted or hate-filled individual, and that he has suffered some sort of financial, and this is the litmus test for these cases, suffered a financial detriment as the result of the SPLC's, reporting on him. Because of the all-too-obvious link between the SPLC, which is literally empowered by half of these Silicon Valley sites to police content or advise on the policing of content, because you have that, and because he is a self-employed, branded individual who has lost a number of platforms specifically related to those claims, and because he can actually show that indeed law enforcement does not consider the Proud Boys to be a domestic extremist group of any kind, his lawsuit will probably prevail. Assuming that he can get together enough money to fight the high-powered lawyers that groups like Hate Watch tend to field. Now, of course, there's a precedent for this. The SPLC, a couple years ago, had a piece of literature on Islamophobia, and they included one author who actually himself was a Muslim. They didn't fact-check right. They looked just at the things he said about extremist Islam and chalked it up to Islamophobia. They apparently were not aware of the fact that actually half of his content is against Islamophobia, which doesn't really exist, but give him credit where credit's due, I suppose, for being balanced, and saying, look, moderate Islam, we have a responsibility to combat this hate too. I don't hate anyone, praise Allah, basically. The SPLC overlooked that, put his name in a list of Islamophobic extremists in their book, had to pay, what did they pay? What was the settlement? $500,000, $1 million, some insane amount, huge amount of money. It's because his brand had taken a financial hit because of his designation as a hate-filled individual. That's really the litmus test. In many cases, you have a case of libel. Someone has said something that's pretty much demonstrably not true, but you can't actually show that any detriment was caused by that. It's like, oh, this person said that you were violent or something, and you can't show the judge, hey, I lost book sales, hey, I was deplatformed, hey, something happened. The fact is that, unfortunately, when the media or when craptivistic groups that are politically motivated tell lies about people, it's difficult often for them to do anything about it, specifically because it's very difficult for them to determine, within a legal framework, beyond a reasonable doubt, that they've actually taken a fiscal hit. Unless they very demonstrably have. In Gavin's case, he has. He's been banned off Twitter, I think. He's been banned off Patreon. He was deplatformed, I think, by the payment processor that was being used by him on his podcast. He briefly got banned off YouTube, although they restored him. I think there are a number of other sites. Wasn't he banned off Instagram or Snapchat or some of these others? So his presence on the mainstream internet is basically YouTube. Other than that, it's his own site, and only by the skin of his teeth does he have that. Remember, it's temporarily banned there, and he appealed and got it restored. This is how you fight the wave of tech censorship. When you have all of these individuals who are self-employed, they have their own brands. So long as they're not doing anything illegal or they don't have officiated membership in a group that the FBI would consider to be extremist or white supremacist, black nationalist or something, as long as they can show that, then their lawsuits may be able to go forward. You see like Gawker Media getting Hulk Hogan there and things of that nature. And you see Sandman right now, and I'll be reporting on this probably tomorrow because I have so many videos built up. Nicholas Sandman, actually the Covington kid there that was approached and drummed in the face there. His legal team just put out a video on the subject showing all the different angles and the real story of what happened. They're suing so many people. It's like half the MSM and half of the pundits and a whole bunch of some websites and dedicated blue checkmark Twitters and stuff like that. They're suing like 50, 60 different entities, and they'll probably win at least some of those cases. You got a clear-cut case of libel in which people have openly encouraged a person to be deplatformed. They're not even an adult, and they're saying, well, don't let him into college, don't employ him, make him a pariah, spread his name around. Yeah, I think that his case will go forward too. I think some of these people are going to go under. I think BuzzFeed, I think, was one of them. It'd be really funny if they had to take a big financial hit right now. Maybe Gavin should get in on that one too. They've written all sorts of crap about him. Remember when the FBI had to come out and say, no, we don't consider the Proud Boys to be an extremist group. By the way, does that mean Milo would have the ability of filing a lawsuit against Patreon for wrongful termination? Yeah, Gavin's literally including discrimination in his lawsuit. And it's like, the SPLC used to do some good shit. Like, I remember the Hate Watch map was up back when I was in high school. And I used to look at that, and it'd show you certainly here's where, clan outlets are and stuff like that. It was interesting at the time, and would do good things. It's like, but back then the Klan was still killing people. Now they go to a barbecue, they don't even fucking do anything. Does it even exist anymore? Who fucking knows? Even their map on there is a little bit skewed when you really think about it. It's like, yes, there is only one variation of bigoted group that has nothing to do with white nationalism or Christian identity. Really, if you look at their map, the only other thing there is like, black Islam, like the Nation of Islam sort of groups and stuff like that. Where are the Hispanic nationalist listings, or is Yakuza could count? They're an ethnically based group. I would think that they should be on Hate Watch. They kill people. Even though they have more nobility than many street gangs, it's still kind of butcherous. Anyone that's willing to chop off a finger for no reason just to get into a cartel, basically, it's like, ooh, yeah, okay. So I hope he wins. Somebody needs to do something about these groups at some point. The legacy media is facing all sorts of lawsuits by all sorts of people. This is the way that you win. You hold them to account legally for what they're doing, and in many cases it does. It rises to the level of defamation. Gavin McInnes is not an ethno-nationalist. He's not a member. Is he a member of any organization at this point, actually, other than he happens to be the head of GavinMcInnes.com or whatever the fuck it is? Hey, I have a podcast. My podcast is obviously a cartel. No. And I don't see the SPLC complaining about groups that are actually violent, like when people actually die. Like, where's their ditty on MS-13 or something like that? It's never going to be written because it's devolved from a group that was actually based on trying to combat hate, because at the time doing that meant donations. It was lucrative. When all of that dried up, they said, well, we're just going to become politically partisan. We're going to bang our drums all day, the drums of war against anyone who happens to step out of line politically. And now it's catching up to them. That's about all. Peace out.